Hi, Mommy.
Hi, Nina.
So I'm so excited to have you here today. How are you doing?
I'm doing well, and I am excited to be here. I'm so proud of
Yeah,
you, and I'm thankful to be a guest.
I'm so glad. So, Mommy is our first guest, Mommy as in Tracy Scott. When I did the first season in 2020, the first episode came out on her birthday. So I wanted the first guest to be her so that it still continued to be dedicated to her. So, with that being said, I know that you have been doing a lot. Well, you're always doing a lot, but you've been doing a lot of traveling and things like that, taking care of Papa and Grandma. So, how has that been going?
Well, it's going.
It's going.
Yes, it's been loving, and it's been, um, just a delightful thing to do, but at the same time, a burden to do it as well,
Mm-hmm.
And maybe burden is a strong word. How about overwhelming?
Yeah.
Overwhelming and requires some prioritization, also requires some balance. And that's just not, personal balance, but work life, personal life, and then family life balance.
Right.
Yeah. And, like you mentioned, it requires travel. So then there's a travel balance as well.
So for all, I guess none of you guys know, but my grandmother, she has dementia, so she is not able to fully take care of herself, and she lives in a senior living facility. So our family is kind of in a round table of taking care of her and just different responsibilities. And then my papa, which is my great grandfather, turns 100 in June. And it just so happens that they have the same birthday. They're both June 2nd, Geminis, and they act as such. How do you think being a primary caregiver and a single mom compares?
So, okay, first let me say caregiver is a stronger word than what I'm doing. So,
Well, I think
um,
maybe for grandma, just because there's more
I,
people
I
involved,
think
but
it's a
definitely for
management.
papa.
Well, no, it's more of a management because he takes care of himself. He, figures out, well, it's getting, now we're getting to a point where he can't figure out what to eat. But for the most part, he cleans the house. He was driving just, a month ago. And, so it was basically managing his life, making sure his bills are
Okay.
paid, checking in on him, on a regular basis, making sure that he ate. What is he eating? Delivering groceries. So it's not in its truest sense as a caregiver, which is someone who would be at the house caring for them, and they had medical needs. My papa doesn't have medical needs, and neither does really my mom. She takes medication, but there's no around the clock nurse for either one of them. So it's not a caregiver is anyway.
I'm
That's
about to look
I
up the
think
definition of.
yeah.
I'm about to
I
look
think
up the
it's a little
definition
bit,
of caregiver.
and to say primary caregiver is, kind of a, um,
Well, I think um, my mother has a tendency of selling herself short. Um, so I guess I can understand what you're saying that you're not necessarily their nurse.
mhm.
However, primary caregiver is a person who provides care, support, and assistance to someone who needs help with daily activities due to disability, chronic illness, or other health conditions. So even if
Yeah,
you're not there day to day, you calling for groceries for Papa and making sure he's doing
yeah,
all right, checking in on him. I think that still counts.
yeah. It definitely counts. It definitely counts. I just, I'm careful not to diminish the role of primary caregivers.
Okay,
That
I get that.
it's basically their job. It takes
Okay,
over their
yeah.
life.
And you still have other, there's still other things
Yeah,
happening.
I still work a full time job. I still have a part time job too. I still vacation. I still, you
Yeah.
know, hang out from time to time. Um,
Okay.
so,
I get that.
yeah,
With that being said, how do you feel like it compares to being a single mom? Well, okay, well, actually,
yeah,
you would say that you were my primary caregiver.
yes,
So it's
yes,
I can understand the differentiation.
yes, yes. And it compares, it does compare because as time passes, you get older, you revert to a childlike state. So there becomes this management and also advisor to how they're going to live their life.
I
Or
get you.
it's, you don't want to say you're telling them what to do, but you're kind of suggesting, manipulating, coaxing, all of these things to guide them in a direction that is more beneficial for them, but it's not insulting to their adulthood. It's still
Right.
respectful of the life that they lived.
It's
Um,
kind of balancing this aspect because I know both of them have a problem with their control and feeling like they have less control over their life.
mhm.
So it's really trying to manipulation, not in a negative way, but
Right. No, no,
trying to
no.
get
Yes.
make them feel like they have an option or they're a part of the decision, even
Yes.
though what they would choose for themselves may not always be the best.
Correct. Right.
Right.
Which is a mind game. I mean, it is it's an exhausting task.
Yeah.
If I went through the story of my grandfather, leaving the casino at 10 o'clock at night and the police stop him, and what happened after that, it's a whole day and a half thing of
Yeah.
balancing him understanding what happened and trying to, manipulate that situation or arrange that situation so that he is in a position where he doesn't get to drive anymore or, doesn't understand that he can still drive,
I get that.
yeah. So
So
it's,
with them kind of especially Pawpaw, I think Grandma is still very lively
yes.
and which they both are. But Grandma is very much I don't think she's gotten to that
She's more
stage
amenable
of
to her lifestyle.
elderly. She's more what?
She's more amenable to her lifestyle. She's more in check
Yes.
with, I've got dementia. I've got to live like this. My
Yes, she
mind,
has a
I'm losing my
more
mind. Maybe this isn't the best decision. You decide
yeah.
those kind of things. Where Papa,
Yeah, Papa, he doesn't understand that he's
he is
elderly
not giving
and
in. Hell no,
yeah,
he's
he
not
doesn't
giving
get it.
in. And he's a
Um
man.
d-
So, and he's used to being in charge. So,
yeah,
there's that.
it feels more demeaning to him where to Grandma it feels
Yes.
more helpful.
Correct, right. Oh yeah,
Yeah.
she would love to have been at any age somebody taking care of her all day long, and her having to
Yeah.
make limited decisions, and fix the food for she never learned how to cook, so fixing
Yeah,
food for her
right.
works. She never liked cleaning, so they clean up her room and make her bed and wash her clothes. So, I mean, life is pretty good for her,
Right,
honestly.
right. Do you feel like when I was a child that I ever had any experiences like this? I saw this TikTok the other day and this little boy was talking to his mom and he was like, "Mommy, I don't like breaking the rules, but you don't tell me what the rules are before I break them. So I don't know that I'm breaking the rules because you don't tell me the
Yes,
rules." And he's like, "I don't want to break the rules, but then I get in trouble and I don't know why I got in trouble."
right.
And so when I watched that video, I really kind of I really resonated with
I can
that.
understand that. That is so um and I've never heard it before, never thought about it like that before, but we don't know what rules to tell you before you break them,
Yeah.
so there's really no rule to tell you until it happens, because there's a ton of rules, and would you remember the rule if we told you before it actually became an issue?
As you decided, so okay, my mom is a single mom. My dad was never in the picture. Um so as you kind of made this decision, and I'm a miracle baby, so she did not think that she could have children, and then she became pregnant with me. As you decided to become a parent, because a lot of women would argue now that if they got pregnant and they knew that they were prepared to not be a mother or they thought that that wouldn't happen for them, they would they would they would let that baby go. I feel like a lot of women would argue that now these days,
Mhm,
because it's so much more of a choice and it's so much more of a I'm not prepared for it. I don't see it.
mhm,
So they
mhm.
really weren't prepared or didn't feel like they would be ready to be a mother. I've heard people argue that. So as you decided to have me and be willing to kind of change your understanding of what your trajectory of your life would be, when did you kind of get to a point where you kind of figured out your parenting style and what that would look like even though you didn't think that you would be a parent?
Okay, so my parenting style is honestly based on One, taking an account and being introspective about my childhood and my
Okay.
life as I continue to live it, and how that relates, and what I'm and just how I move about the world. I honestly often think about, how I was raised, what the dynamics were, the people that were in my life, and how they've influenced me, and all of those things. So, and there was never a question. It was always a surprise, and it was a what the fuck am I going to do now? What happened? So, but it was never a decision. It was always, she's here to stay. Um, and then my parenting style was just, it had to develop as it, came about. I think that the independence that I raised you in is the independence I was raised in. Um,
Okay.
the um, the reality checks that I raised you in are the reality checks that I have had, in my
Yeah.
life. The tough questions that my parents asked me, the tough, and from that, the tough questions I learned to ask myself.
Yeah.
The paying attention to the people in my life and how they move and how they manage their life, or reality, and what that is, and being accepting of who they are, but also being able to glean their value for you in your life based on the value that they have in mind. So I don't know. I guess parenting styles, they just come, they just kind of form themselves as you live in it. If you're paying attention, you have a parenting style. If not, you just wilding out, raising a child that's wilding out, in chaos.
Yeah. If you had to describe your parenting style in 3 words, what would they be?
Wow. Interesting. Um, Love, accountability, and love, accountability, and life.
I thought you were going to say freedom.
I would, if I'd have thought about it, I'd have said it. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I'm going to write that down, Nina. You're right. Yes.
Yeah.
I do. I brought a
Thro-
book. Look, I put the computer on top of it. I was like, I brought a book so I could take notes so I didn't forget some of this stuff. Oh, but it's being recorded, so I can let that
yeah, it's
go.
being recorded.
Okay, good.
I definitely feel that. I think that something that I really thought about when going to college was I know a lot of my friends were so excited for the freedom. Like they were so excited to be on their own and to do this stuff. And that was not an appeal to me. I feel like I had already had that. I never felt
Mhm.
like I was without that. And even I remember the first time that I like stood up to an adult. I think I got in trouble in elementary school, and for some reason they asked me where I lived, and we didn't live inside the zone for the school or whatever. And I didn't understand why they asked me where I lived, but they kept asking me that, and I was like, I'm not telling you my address. And they were like, tell me where you live, blah, blah, blah. I'm going to call your mom. And I was like, my mom said I can't tell you where I live. So I'm not telling you where I live. And
Mhm.
I feel like there's not a lot of, and I say that to say, I think that's an example of how my mind or our lifestyle kind of
Mhm.
made me into this person that I never felt,
Intimidated by adults.
yeah, I never felt intimidated or I never felt afraid to say how I was feeling. When I was little, I never felt like I couldn't say the things that I really wanted to say, and that's including when I talk to you. And I feel like that's
Mhm.
so different, especially with how my cousins talk to their parents, with how my friends talk to their parents. We have just always had this very candid conversation where um, we were
Mhm.
just very real with each other. And I
Mhm.
think that that requires some flow of freedom when it just like freedom to feel your feelings or to think how you think or
Mhm.
to, I don't know, to live how you live, whatever that means.
Right.
But I definitely see that. I definitely see that.
I think that also in my being, there is a respect for you. If and and it's an odd thing, but you have to respect people's presence and how they feel. And I might not have agreed with you, which agreed with you or, appreciated hearing whatever it is you had to tell me or what. But you have to, at least in my mind, you have to respect the life of someone else, even if it's your child, and be
Yeah.
honorable to who they are and what they're feeling, and be take a moment and either guide them through that conversation or take into account that what they're saying might be actually true. If that's what you look like to somebody else, then take into
Hmm.
consideration that might be what you look like. It's not
Right.
their perception of you, it's actually who you're being.
Hmm.
And I think that that's important. I think it was important to give you that validation and for you to have that, I don't know, confidence or stance or, power in yourself.
So you say the three words that you would describe your parenting style would be love, accountability, and life. We're gonna add freedom on there as a bonus. What are three things that you felt that you needed assistance in giving me?
Probably a better understanding of me. And
Okay.
I think that my friends were able to do that because they understand me well, which I cannot tell you how great that is and how much I appreciate that.
Hmm.
Um, a a a different thought process on things. I didn't want to be the one all to be all, the, my way or the highway, or I know everything kind of thing. I wanted you to be able to bounce things off, see them from a different perspective.
Yeah.
And I think that's important. Also, what else could I have not? Shit, there's a ton of things. I'm trying to go through each of my girlfriends and say which one what they brought to the table or something. I don't know. Um,
So right now we have a better understanding of you.
mhm.
Dang, and my mind just blanked. What was our second
Hello.
one?
Okay. Right. Okay. Yeah. Seeing things from a different perspective.
Seeing things from a different perspective.
Yeah. And, so my parents didn't have friends. My mom does not have any lifetime friends for real.
Hmm.
She knows people from then, but not have spent time living in community with people throughout the transitions of life. And
Yeah.
I don't think my dad has that either. So I
Hmm.
thought it was very important for you to see how to have friends and how to,
Okay.
draw people close to you, evaluate who they are, and then decide how you're going to keep them.
Yeah.
I thought that that was important. And I think my friends, they helped me do that.
So I am definitely a product of the village. They say, I think it's a parable, but it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
Um, and friendship was a very big thing in my life, in our lives,
Mhm.
especially as an only child. The friends that I
Yeah.
have, my newest friend, I made 7 years ago, and that would be Christina. So I've had my friends for a very long time, and I think that is definitely a product of the of that decision, and seeing you go out with your friends and knowing that I think it was Tuesdays and Thursdays or Thursday nights you
Yeah.
went
Thursday
dancing with
nights for
Auntie
sure.
Yolanda.
Yes. Thursday nights
Yeah.
without a doubt.
Thursday nights you went dance with Auntie Yolanda, and there were different things with Auntie Denise, and
Concerts.
being
Denise and
invited
I are
to her
concerts.
family
Hmm.
things, and
Yeah.
just seeing you make new friends. I remember when we went over
I
to
don't
Miss
have any new
Josie's house for the
friends.
first time.
Oh,
Well, I didn't.
Josie.
Yeah,
So,
yeah. I didn't
mhm.
see. I didn't. We didn't like. I didn't grow up with her. I think as I grew up with like Mel
Right.
and Auntie Denise and things like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
Um, so seeing that in your life definitely has had a very big impact in how I care for my friends and the importance I have for community.
I do have new friends. I have Kelly and Val and Glenice. I'm sorry. I got new friends. I apologize. Yeah. And I
You
love
do have
them.
new
So,
friends,
yeah.
but I definitely think that now that I'm grown, they're not necessarily a part of my village as they are a part of your
Yes.
community.
Yes. That is true. Yes.
Um, so with that, did how did you select members for your village, or did God kind of just place them at different times and it just
Yep.
happened.
God placed them at different times. I don't know how I met Yolanda. I was in high school, but I will tell you in high school, I had one friend every year, just one.
Interesting.
So
Was Auntie
that's it.
Yolanda your friend junior year, senior year?
Junior year. So
Junior
my
year.
sophomore year, which is that's 10th grade. Yeah. Okay. 10th
Mm-hmm.
grade was Kim Smith.
Mm-hmm.
Junior year was Yolanda. Senior year was Candy. And that was it.
Okay.
So yeah. So how I met Paulette working at Continental, we were they had a community phone that you could use if you needed to make calls and stuff.
And Paulette is my
She's on the
godmother.
phone. Yeah. And she's on the phone in front of me. And she keeps calling several people trying to get a ride and stuff. And I'm like, I need to use the phone. So I was like, hey, I can give you a ride. And she was like, are you sure? I said, yeah, I'll give you a ride. No problem. Because, we need to move this along. We got to go. And I didn't say that, but in my head, that's where I was. It was like, this chick, I could just give her a ride. Hell, I got a car and gas.
Y'all were both working at Continental?
Yes. In
Oh, okay. Okay.
reservations. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So I took took her home, and she had a friend whose birthday, it was her birthday.
Mm-hmm.
And so she needed a ride to the birthday party too, because we didn't have
Yeah.
Uber, Lyft, and all of that kind of stuff. There was cabs,
Right.
but not really. So she was like, "Oh, you want to go to this party?" And I was like, "Okay, sure. I'm not dressed for it, but what the hell? I didn't have nothing else to do, and it felt right. It felt
Mm-hmm.
right. Even hanging out with Yolanda, it felt right. It was instant. There was no question about it. She was going to be my one friend, and we did so many things together. We went out, we went places we shouldn't have gone to. We went to clubs and ran into our teachers. Okay. So, Paulette. So, Paulette, I go to the party, and at the party, I met Shonda and Rosie, who also became who became. Then I had these women who have impacted my life in different ways and shown me different
Mm-hmm.
things about being a woman or being an adult. And I met Rosie and Shonda at the birthday party that Paulette took me to, or that I drove Paulette to.
When thinking about the role of a godmother, how did you choose Auntie Paulette?
She's the most solid person. Paulette is grounded, and Paulette is going to make a decision. And Paulette is going to make a decision and then explain to you the decision and why you should stick with her decision. Okay.
So she was
And
very, I guess, confident in her
yes,
self.
Paulette is very confident in herself and her
Mhm.
decisions. Um, and she lives a stable life. Not that my other friends don't. She just has a better, her overall, the circumference of her life is very grounded, settled.
Did it help that she had kids before you, so you saw what kind of parent she was?
No, that had nothing to do with
Okay,
it.
yeah, you didn't even factor that into it.
I never even thought about that before till you just said it now.
So it wasn't based off of her parenting style.
Oh
It was
no,
more
no,
based
no.
off of who she was as a person.
Yes, 100%
So
who she was.
Auntie Yolanda is Auntie Yolanda says that we are soulmates, me and her.
Mhm.
So as Auntie Paulette is my godmother, Auntie Yolanda is my soulmate. How
Yes.
do you think she has contributed to the village, or what you felt like her role was, or how why y'all stayed friends so long?
So she and I were friends in high school, and she left me. So she left me,
Okay.
went back to Fort Worth, and because we were in Houston, she went back to Fort Worth, and started going to college and all of these kind of things. And I really lost touch with her and hadn't talked to her at all. She
Okay.
just happened to come back one day years later, and she was already married to some guy and in radio and all of that kind of stuff. But we still picked up, and how she found me was definitely organic as well. It was a moment of just destiny, of chance, of mystic movement that she was able to reconnect with me because we didn't have each other's phone number. But her role for you was to make sure that you lived free, that you lived a life that
Hmm.
was not in, that didn't have to fall in some kind of traditional line, that didn't have to do something. And also, if I died, her role was to take you out of the country and help you travel the world. I was
I'm
very
gonna hold her.
specific about
I'm gonna hold her to that. Even if well, God
very
willing, that
specific.
you don't pass,
Yeah.
that means she owes
Mhm.
me at least one trip.
But Paulette ended up taking you out. Paulette ended up doing it. Paulette
That
took you to
means
Barcelona.
that's a bonus in her assignment column. Auntie
Yes.
Yolanda is
Oh,
still
that is
owed
true.
one.
That is a bonus in her assignment. You are 100% right.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. So we had Auntie Paulette, who was my godmother, and she was just this grounding figure. And she was very confident in how she felt about living her life and about herself. Auntie Yolanda, if you have ever met Yolanda Starks White, she is a very, as much as she is free,
She got a lot of
um,
rules.
she has a lot of rules. She definitely has an idea of what is and what should not be. Um,
Hmm.
both just very heavy contributors into my life. And I think
Hmm.
everybody else, we have like Auntie Denise, we have Auntie Maya, we have
Yeah.
their partners. So everybody,
Hmm.
those three had a husband. So we have Uncle John, Uncle Ward, and Uncle Ernest, who has
Hmm.
passed, my godfather, um and just
Yeah.
like all these different people that fell into, I guess, like
Hmm.
these mother figures and father figures. We had Auntie Heather, she's now passed, and
Hmm.
John. So I feel like all these people just came at different
And
parts of
Mr.
your.
Oeli. Don't forget
And
Mr. Oeli.
Mr. Oeeli, he is my fifth
Okay.
grade teacher. I moved,
Hello.
so I was born and raised. Well, I was born and raised up until fourth grade in Houston, Texas. In fifth grade, the summer between fourth and fifth grade, we moved to DFW. Mr. Oyeli was my fifth grade teacher in this Montessori elementary school. And to be quite honest, there is not a lot. I'm one of those. Am I Gen Z? Am I millennial? I'm on the edge. I'm on the cusp. I'm 1999, but you know how they always talk about how like they're. I'm talking to the people. Maybe you don't know this, but we always talk about how our childhood is a little blurred,
Hmm.
and my childhood is a little blurred. It takes my sister Cyan to really jog my memory. She has the memory of an elephant, and she'll be like, remember when we blah blah, and I'm like, no girl. So my mom always
You
tells
get that.
me that I told Mr. Oeli all my business, and so I came here in
Yes.
fifth grade and I needed somebody to confide in and to really I guess help me through this transition. But I feel like in that era of life, that was when the village really started to serve its purpose. Before that, I wasn't quite aware of the village and what they did for me. But once I got into fifth grade and met Mr. Oeli, and then I started spending more time with John, and Heather, and they had their
Hmm.
kids, and then Auntie Yolanda and Uncle Ward, and I would spend the night over there when you and Auntie Yolanda would go out, and it started to kind of make more sense to me that we had this community of people that were
Hmm.
also here to, I guess, help raise me. I don't think I would put it like that when I was that age, but in hindsight,
Hmm.
I feel like that
You
was
got a
the
sweet.
purpose. So now let's move forward to me being 11, 12, 13, and I'm going into that preteen, teenage phase. We're about 2 years into YWLA. What do you feel
Okay.
like was the hardest part of being a single mom?
Um, the time. And, well, wait. So, really not having anything to do with you and solely about me
Okay.
is being steady. Having to make sure that I didn't get caught up in something else that I loved doing that distracted me because I don't live in a routine space. I never have. My family doesn't live in a routine space.
Yeah.
So having a routine, because it's important for you to have a routine, because it's important for you to, do all these things. That was the hard. I think that was what was hard for me, is to control my wanting to be,
Mhm.
move around freely in the world, but having to have that kind of control over my life and stick with, this, so that you had the space. But I knew that that was what was coming. I just didn't know it looked like that.
So
Because
it
being
was
engaged to
more
Lawrence was part of, trying to create a stable environment for you.
Oh, that's
Um,
perfect. So it was more of the structure that
yeah,
was the structure of having a child, or
correct.
the need
Yes,
for structure when you do have a child, that was
100%.
more difficult or challenging for you to manage, just
Yes,
because you are free spirit at heart.
yes.
So if it was you by yourself, you'd be, who knows where you'd be.
Who knows where I
But
would be?
yeah.
And I just think that, I don't know where I was going, but I believe that God stopped me because
Okay.
the year that I entered into politics, I was pregnant with you. The year
And
I
you were
got started,
33.
33, just started my job with Carole Robinson in January. I found out I was pregnant in February.
Okay. So when you so now you decide to have me, and life is happening and things like that. And I know for a while you just felt like it was me and you, and you needed it to just be me and you.
Mhm.
When was the time, or was there a time where you desired a partner, or for me to have a father?
No.
No.
I always thought it would be good to have a partner and a kid needs two kids in their life and that kind of thing, but that ain't how I started. So if I had started that way, that would have been a different thing. I didn't start with a partner. So
So you
to
didn't feel
bring
like you were
somebody
necessarily
in,
missing anything.
no, no, no. I believe you're missing something. I wasn't willing to take the risk that I chose wrong or that this person
Okay.
would fuck up the course that we were going or, fuck up who you were supposed to be.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. Because I can look back on my dad and I can tell you that the best thing ever happened, my mother and father got divorced.
Okay.
That is 100% true because they needed to be independent of each other for me to be able to be who I am today.
Interesting. I think
And,
that
and, and extra people take extra focus. You got somebody in your life, they're supposed to be your helper, but there's shit you got to do for them too as a woman.
okay.
There's a whole lifestyle that then gets created that you're now then put into, and, everything, it becomes something else to juggle, something else to manage,
Yeah.
and that kind of thing. And I didn't, I was already enough trying to manage myself.
You feel
Um,
like you feel like it would be an added responsibility to add this other role that you, or this other
yes,
set of
yes,
responsibilities that you had to be or fulfill, or things like that.
yeah, true that, yes.
Interesting. I'm a rom-com girl to this day. And ever since, I'm a very coming of age show and movie fan. So I think for a while I desperately wanted a father, and I desperately wanted my father to be the father that I thought that he should be, or wanted him to be, or felt like he should have been, and things like that. But I don't think that it ever dawned on me that I wanted you to have a husband.
You're right.
Like that
Those
never
two didn't
that
connect.
Yeah, those two didn't connect. It was because honestly, I think that I agree. I think it would have fucked up our flow. Like we had a very even though you say structure was a challenge of yours, I feel like you did that very well. And maybe because it was a challenge, it was something that you were so hyper focused on. Like, I am a very calendar oriented, I have things to do. How can I fit everything? If I can fit seven things in one day, I will do it. I will do it.
Don't be like your mother. Don't be
But
like your mother. Don't be like your mother.
I think it's definitely those two never really connected for me. That definitely would have effed us up. I There was one guy that I feel like I really liked for you. And I felt like I felt that dad energy from him. But just God had other plans, and that just simply didn't work out. But I never thought about it like that when I was younger. It was definitely like, I don't have a dad and I wish I had a dad. It wasn't, my mom doesn't have a partner, I wish she had a partner. Like,
Mhm.
that just wasn't a thought. However, now that is something that I think about. I do think about how I don't know, right now we live in the same home, and I feel like we're getting our flow back. But I do think about, like, okay, eventually God willing, with this economy and everything happening, I will have my own place. And
Yeah,
I want you to be able to have somebody, I don't know, to have somebody there.
I do too. To have fun with. I do too.
Yeah.
I do. I agree with you. I 100% agree with you. What I really want, or what I also want to add is to be sure that you're not expecting somebody to give you something they don't have. So when we talked about having a father and having, somebody in your life and, that kind of thing, your expectation is not necessarily what they can deliver.
Very
So
true. Very true.
that is that's I think a point that I'd like to, just make that point. I'd like to drill it in everybody's mind that you might want somebody to be something, but they don't have that to give. And be
And I
very careful about confusing those things.
and I think that's the conversation that we had when talking about when I was kind of dealing with my father not showing up the way that I want him to. Um of course I don't remember the words or anything like that, but it was that kind of conversation that we had of you saying like he just isn't that person. He's just not that guy. Um and that's okay. And
Hmm.
the Lord has led me to forgiveness. He has not led me to forget. But
I love it. You ain't
um
supposed to forget. I don't believe you're supposed to forget. Forgive is yes. Forget,
yeah,
no.
forgive
Because
is
then you
one
set
thing.
yourself up for
Forget.
the same shit to happen again. Oh no.
Exactly, exactly. We can't forget. That's not a thing. But
Mm-mm.
I agree, especially when you're picking your partner, whether you do have a child and even when you don't. As somebody, the product of, I say, I think for a single mom, it's definitely something that you have to be aware of. As the
Mhm.
child of someone, as the child of a person who, of a parent that was not there or was absent or was, had any negative connotation to how they showed up in your life,
Mhm.
you do have to be aware of how they showed up. And because I feel like it's unconscious for us to seek that out in others, you
Right.
seek that kind of personality style out in hopes that you can change them like you wish that person, your
Mhm.
parent, would have changed. Um,
Yeah.
so
And
I definitely do feel that.
yeah, and I saw a hell, I don't know, TikTok, Instagram, something, but this guy said, it's not the other person that you like as much as you like the person you are with them.
Yeah.
So what you really want is you want to feel like a child. You want a man, you want to feel protected. You
Yeah.
want to feel loved by, a father figure. You want to feel those things. It's not necessarily that they are that. It's you want to feel that. Can they provide you with that kind of cover, that kind of
Yeah.
compassion, that kind of understanding? And I no, that's yeah, right. He ain't that guy.
Yeah. Um, Now that I am grown, is there anything that you wish you would have done differently?
So, wish I would have done differently and could I have done differently? I think um
Well, I feel like
I think
the wish is in hindsight. The could have is definitely the acknowledgement that you're giving yourself grace and that it it
mhm.
could not have been.
Would I have done something differently? Let me think about that. I probably would have cussed out your third grade teacher back at Parker Elementary that was bothering you. That still worries me to the day. The old white lady who was
Uh,
talking crazy to you. I wish I had handled that better.
Miss Orlaska.
Yes, I wish I had handled that better. I can tell you that. That comes to mind, which is crazy, crazy, crazy. But, I think about times and moments, even in my life, where I could have protected myself better so that I know and protected you. Um, So yeah, would I have done something differently? Let me think about that. I don't know. I
And
can't quite say because and there probably is something without doubt. There's something that I could have done better. I mean, there's no doubt about that. In that moment in time, did I know to do something better? I know that I did the absolute best that I could because that was my intention from knowing that you were pregnant. I knowing that you were coming. My that you, yeah, no, not yet. Um, But knowing that you were coming, it was my conscious thought daily over the span of time that my role was to do the absolute best that I could.
One of the things that we're doing now to, I think, help mold our grown relationship is do our be more conscious of time we spend together. We have not been as successful as doing our monthly dates. Um,
Because
we
she fell
will
out on again.
we
See,
will
I
try
can't
more.
help her.
No,
You drop the date nights, I mean, I'm just saying.
no. I feel like we both. I feel like you travel a lot, and then I end up doing
Right.
something, and then
Mhm, mhm.
we end up
It's
trying to
true.
like
It's true.
you
We stay
know.
busy. Yeah.
Yeah, we have to make it so that it's like every last weekend of the month
Okay. Yeah.
we go and do something.
We do something. Okay. Hmm.
So that it's a standing date. With all that being said, it has been a joy being your daughter, even when we do not like each other. We know, when I
I
know that we
know.
still
It's
love each
been a
other.
joy.
It has been a joy. Uh,
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I appreciate you coming on the
Mhm.
podcast and just talking about your life as a single mom and what that's looked like and the different ebbs and flows and the people who's contributed to it and what it looks like and
Yeah.
all the different things.
You're such a beautiful person and nice and smart, and you have good judgment.
Oh my
And
gosh, tell me more.
okay, and yeah, and you're finding your, it's interesting to watch you find your, I don't know, your style, your ground, and how you want to be, what makes you feel best when you present yourself, and
Yeah.
how you want others to see you, and how you treat other people, and those things. It's just always a good journey, and I'm happy to be so close to see these things. See you continue to grow. Mhm.
I love that. I love you, mommy.
I love you more.
Okie dokie. We'll talk to you guys later. Thank you so much for joining the Who
Okay,
Will We Be podcast. We love you. Thank you for spending time with us. And have a great day.
and remember, who will you be?
Who will you be, girl?